was here 2 years ago when y'all played? We played y'all here, Richland. Played right here on this field. Dude, you're welcome. That's the team I helped with. It was good to be back, and that's my context of coaching is over there with that school. I did graduate here in 1987. None of you were probably born. Corey makes fun of me. He was like 4, okay? Played for the great Coach Neil Wilson. If you look there on your in your locker room, 1985, we made it all the way to regionals. I grew up in a little house right over here on Pebblebrook, Lake Cities area. We're Bel Air, across the street from Huffine. Born and raised in the same house. Been going to farmer football games since I could remember. The same thing happens. And 2 years ago, when I was here coaching on the opposite side, is the first time I've been back here as a competitor since 1986. And it was kind of strange. And I still remember it. It still gives me goosebumps because I heard it my whole life. They still do it. The band leaves right here for the band hall, and they march all the way around the parking lot. I was telling this to Coach Odell, gave him chill bumps the other day. They go through that end of the stadium, and they walk into the stadium, and they play the fight song. Woo! They got me fired up, and I was on the other side. I had to kind of keep it down. You know, like going, here comes the band. This is awesome. It comes back to you. Also, Big John. There's something when that music starts playing. That dun, dun. Does it get anybody going in here other than me? Does that get to go? Do you even hear it anymore? I'm telling you, it was awesome. It was the most obnoxious song to the opposing teams because we play that all the time. And when it happened, it was either 4th and short. When it happened, it was like we had to make a defensive stand, and that thing would start playing and just goose you up. Now, Coach Odell doesn't know this because I left in '87, and I lived in Lubbock for 20 years, and I worked with Coronado High School. And I remember Coach Odell playing in Abilene, Texas. I was in the coach's box, and it was very funny because y'all know farmer football. If we have 2 tight ends lined up, what are we going to do? You're going to run, right? I'm sitting there in the coach's box, and the coaches ask, Fraze, double tight, what are they going to do? I literally start laughing. I said, they're going to run the ball. And this man was a technician, and they totally tore up the Mustangs. We were out in the playoffs. Louisville goes on to win their 2nd state championship. I was born and raised here. I bleed maroon. I love this program because of this reason. I still hear echoes of everything the coaches said to us playing around in my head, and I'm old. Is that true of you? True of you guys? We hear things from our coaches, whether you play here or anywhere else. And there are moments, there's only some lessons that you learn by playing a sport like this. Whether you were a utility player, whether you were a scout team player, 2nd team, 1st team, everybody has a part. And if everybody gets their part down, the greatness begins to happen, and farmer football begins to roll forward. But it does not happen by mistake. And I said this to Coach, I will say it till my last breath. If you learn how to play this game well, you will learn how to live life well. Because every one of us, sooner or later, will put up the cleats, the helmet's put away, and you will not be playing anymore. And it would be a waste of your time if you didn't just get everything out of this sport that you can. And you're about to have an opportunity to do that. How many of y'all want to be an impact player for farmer football? Like when you want your name in the paper, you want a picture on the wall, you want to be an impact player. There's a process that you have to commit to. Coach has already said, he drilled it into my brain, and we literally just met with a student, so it'll be drilled into his. It's a very simple formula for you guys. What's the first thing Coach asks you to do? We'll do a little test here. Do what? Do what's right. Say it again. Do what's right. You're in high school. I don't have to teach that. You know what's right and wrong. You do what's right. And the second thing is what? You do your best. Say it again. Say it. Do your best. Do your best. And you understand, I'm a parent of a teenager. If I look at you and say, hey, do your best, you may say, hey, Dad, my best is a C. No, you're just coasting. Do your best is when every last measure of your effort is out there on the table, whatever you do. And the last thing is what? You remember? Do what's right, do your best, and finish is always good. That's doing your best. What is it, Coach?
You got to show people you care.
Show people you care. That's a hard one. Coach Campbell was my FCA coach in 1987. I just loved it. He's old. I know, older than me. I just left his office. There's still a connection because of that compassion. Those are the three things. Those are your coach's expectations. But what is the process? I want you to do a very simple process. How do you become an impact player? First of all, you start with your identity. That's why I mentioned those three things. Those three things define who you are as a Farmers football player. Now, if you don't want to be a part of those three things, Coach Oda will help you find the door. But there's an expectation here that you do what's right, that you do your best, that you show compassion. That begins to happen. That's your identity. You start with your identity. Does it mean something to you to be a Farmer football player? What does it mean to you? Somebody tell me. Go. What does it mean? Pride. Literally, as long as I can remember, Farmer pride. It goes here. What else? What does it mean? Yes. Brotherhood. Absolutely. One of the greatest players we ever had at Richland, I asked him at a team meeting, I said, why do you play this game? Incredibly talented athlete, just playing to the next level, and he said this, when I'm in that tunnel and I'm about to go out, I'm doing something with my brothers. And there's something special about that. Because you will remember each other for a long time. You will long forget some of the guys that are in this high school. But you will remember the people that you sweat and worked with. And you will remember days like today. You believe that? Absolutely. What else? Why are you here? Yes. Trust. You trust the process. You trust each other. What else? Somebody tell me. What does it mean? Huh? Fight. Yes. Oh my word. To be able to play some of the schools you play, be able to hear that song, you are doing something that very few people get to do. Yes. A lifestyle. You learn how to play this game. You learn how to live life. So here's your identity. Your identity is that which dictates your actions. Because if that's your identity, there is no doubt what you're about to do when you put the pads on. It's hot, it's humid, the field is heating up a little bit, the sun, even though it's gone, it's just making it a little more humid. You have every reason in the world, from our human standards, to just cash in and say, I will try harder tomorrow. But today, because your identity is what you said it was, your actions are already set. Your identity is a Farmer football player. You're going to try hard. You're going to do right. You're going to show compassion. Why? Because that's what you do. Does anybody feel like they're out ready to go out there and just sweat and just have a good day of practice? Okay, hold up. Raise your hand. Honestly, how many are like going, I'm not feeling it today? Be honest. Is anybody not feeling it today? Coaches, are you feeling it today?
I'm feeling it for sure.
For sure. Do you? Okay, hold on. Do you feel it every day?
Yeah.
Thank you. One honest, one's a head coach. Okay, think about that. There's some days you get up. Well, why do they do it? Why are they going to give everything? Somebody tell me. They love us. But it's their identity. It's what they do. Follow me on this. See, a lot of people go the other way. They start with their feelings. I don't feel like going to practice. I don't feel like doing right. I don't feel like giving my best. I don't feel like showing compassion for my brothers. So I'm going to cash it in. And your activity becomes, I'm just going to half-butt it and do drills. I'm going to have an attitude. I'm going to just kind of push back against coach. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm not going to do my assignment. I'm in this for me. And what happens to your identity? Even though you have the greatest talent, you will not play because you tear the team down. You see how that works? So I want to start with my identities. You're a Farmer football player. It runs deep in our veins. I talked to these coaches earlier. They still cannot say Marcus. They say mucus. Anybody with me? I played in the very first Battle of the Axe. The very first one. We came up with that idea. We beat them 44-0. And if you see that first score, it's got it etched into that axe. And still to this day, 30 years later, when we all get together, we can't say Marcus. We say mucus. And we talk about that rivalry. Does that mean something to you? Again, it's in you. This is our identity. And even though I'm old, I always look at the papers. Even though I coach at another school, I'm looking at the papers. Did Louisville beat Marcus? You think you're going to be over that? No. Do you think Coach Odom will be talking to his friend over there, Marcus, during that week? No. Because it's in his blood. This is your identity. Your identity forms what you do in activity. Then your feelings come around. Because the reality is some days you're not going to feel like it. So you have to trust your identity. You do what you have to do, even when you don't want to. How's this translate into life? Here's the fact. Some of you come from families that your dad is not a part of your home anymore. Some of you come from families where there's drug use. Some of you come from families where you can't rely on the people around you. Some of you are in situations that you should not be in. But let me ask you a question. Who's going to change that? Who's going to change it? Yeah, well, let me tell you something. You're not always going to feel like changing it because change is hard work, right? So you got to decide right now, my identity is to be a man that does right, that does their best, that shows compassion. When that's your identity, you're going to show up for work and be a great employee. You're going to be a great dad even when you don't feel like it. You're going to be a great husband and commit to your wife even when you don't feel like it. You're going to be great at everything that you do because you learned a long time ago in a high school in Louisville, Texas, that if my identity is something that is solid, then even when I don't feel like it, I'm going to do the right thing. You're going to be the kind of man that you want to be. You got to believe the process. You got to surrender to that process. Everybody with me on that? You have to surrender yourself. You have to surrender yourself to the process your coaches are about to put you through. They're not doing this because they're trying to pick on you. They're doing this to make you the best player you can be. There was a day, and I'm going to say this because I've been on the other side of the ball from y'all. There was a day that when Louisville stepped off the bus, there was a swagger. There was a swagger that you knew you were in the game no matter what. The last few times we played y'all, I saw it. And it was awesome. Did I hate getting beat? Absolutely. But was it awesome to see you gain the swagger again? When there's a confidence like you shared with your brothers and everything around you, decided this is going to be Farmer football. Do you think you've arrived yet? Does anybody think you've arrived? Do you ever look at the wall and think, I want my picture on that wall? I want our team to be up there? Who controls that? You do. I'm looking at you. Y'all got a lot of great talent in this room. Be a pity if you don't surrender to the process. Have your identity, let your actions take over, then the feelings will come. Even if you have a bad day, gut it up and do what you need to do. Don't rely on feelings, rely on your identity, and you'll be a great football player. You'll be a great team, but you'll also be the kind of men that's going to change the world. That'll change your family, and you'll be the kind of men that will impact the world if you decide to do that. I believe that. All right? Coach?
Great job. All right.